Good evening, everyone. Welcome tonight to tonight's school board meeting of Independent School District 191. I will call this meeting to order, and I will ask Director Courier to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We will get right to our meeting, and first thing I'll look for is an approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Director Alt. Any discussion? All those in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, with that, we will move right into the information part of our meeting. And first up, we have three sessions tonight. First up, we are going to have our Metcalf Peer Mentors. And I will ask Superintendent Amoroso to do the introduction.
Thank you. I'll let you get all settled before I start. Our middle schools were created as part of Vision 191 redesign to meet the unique social and emotional needs of our students in grades 6, 7, and 8. Our middle schools have many ways of doing this. One important part is building community, and the peer leader groups at all three middle schools are essential to making that happen. These student groups, which have been in place for many years, were retained and strengthened as we move to the middle school model because they are wonderful examples of our mission statement in action. They are preparing students to be future ready while also making their schools and our district community strong. We have peer leader groups at all three of our middle schools. We've already heard from the Credo peer leader group at Eagle Ridge. At an upcoming meeting, we will also be hearing from the Breakfast Club peer leaders at Nicollet Middle School. Tonight we welcome students and staff, advisors to talk about the peer leader group at Metcalf Middle School. We also have Principal Kelly Ron here to introduce our staff advisors and our students who will be sharing information with us tonight. Welcome Principal Ron, staff advisors, and students. We're excited that you're here.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm, again, Kelly Ron, the principal at Metcalf. Tonight you'll hear about our peer leader program at Metcalf Middle School from a few of our peer leaders. Our peer leader program is an integral part of the success of our school. The students and faculty advisors work hard to create a positive environment at our school. Tonight you'll get to hear some of that great work. I'd like to introduce Lori Maidman and Lucretia Jeffers, who have been our peer leaders for many years.
Okay. I am Lori Maidman. I'm a school counselor at Metcalf and one of the advisors of the peer leaders.
And I'm Lucretia Jeffers, and I'm a social studies teacher at Metcalf.
And we are fortunate to have with us a number of our peer leaders today. We have Martha Wundamu, Zoe Olson, Mohammed Jailani, Helen Wang, Cecilia Johnson, Yanette Elias, and Nicole Diaz, who will all be speaking tonight. All right, so our peer leaders are a strong group of students that are nominated by grade levels. We vote on students in the spring, and we ask fellow classmates to vote on 3 students that they could turn to if they had a problem, people that are trustworthy, and also people that are responsible.
We are very appreciative that these are our future leaders, and they are very positive individuals. They help establish our school community and also generate respect and support for everyone in the building.
Hello, my name is Martha. Here are some before-school activities. On August 22nd, we had a training day. We did some get-to-know-you activities, team building, and leadership activities. Also, this year we learned about Chromebook training and handouts. On August 23rd, we helped with Chromebook distribution. We handed out Chromebooks to students and parents, gave instructions on rapid identity, and gave student tours on the school and helped with opening lockers.
I'm Zoe, and on August 30th, we were the welcome crew at the Metcalf Open House, where we greeted students, parents, and families. We helped with finding rooms and opening lockers. We answered questions about schedules and where rooms were, and we explained the lunchroom and how lunches work.
My name is Mohammed, and in October, we stayed after school and hung positive messages in all the Metcalf bathrooms and all around the school. In November, we attended We Day at the Xcel Energy Center with students all across Minnesota. We watched presentations about leadership in action.
In December, we were the leaders of an all-school food drive for Brain Power in a Backpack. We also had grade-wide competition, and we gathered an amazing 1,300 items for Brain Power in a Backpack.
Hi, I'm Andrew. In February, we had a day-long planning session from our We Day experience and practice our leadership skills. We also had a We Day advisor run the training. We planned an all-day kindness campaign. We also planned to watch advisory videos, talk about social media, and we made posters and bulletin messages. We also had student challenges to increase student kindness at Metcalf.
I'm Cecilia, and this upcoming spring we're having a kindness campaign. So every morning we're going to do bulletin announcements, and we are creating a Wave of Kindness wall, and we're having a kindness door contest in all of our Blaze classes. And we're planning to do like a lunch mix-up, and we're just invited to a youth and leadership thing conference through the We Day thing.
I'm Nicole, and throughout the year we also give tours to new students and their families.
And I'm Janet, and we also meet with students who are in conflict at home and struggle with issues. So thank you very much for your time.
There you go.
Well, that is fantastic. Were you guys expecting such a big crowd to come and see you tonight?
No.
You guys did an excellent job. I don't know if any board members have any comments or questions.
Okay, I would love to hear one thing for everybody, what thing you love the most about the Metcalf Peer Leaders Program. Okay, I'll give you a minute to think about it. Okay, all right, can we go?
We get to help students who are going through a lot.
We get to participate with everyone else in activities. We get to do leadership stuff together.
We get to have other students look up to us.
We get to encourage parents throughout our school.
I love building leadership skills and working together.
I love having kind of helping the community in our school kind of be a better place.
I like doing all the activities and projects.
Thank you. Those are wonderful things. I hope you continue to do them, and thank you for everything you do for your school.
Anyone else? Well, thank you. If you guys could come up here, we'd love to shake your hands.
Thank you. Good job. Good job. Thank you. Good job. Thank you. I know. This is great. Good job. Wait a minute. Good job. Good job. Thank you. Nice job. Thank you. Good job. Good job. Good job, Bailey.
All right. Next on our agenda, we're going to have our Burnsville High School Community Builders presentation. Several community building activities have been taking place at Burnsville High School, this year and even in years past. So we've asked our Principal Dave Helke and Associate Principal Angie Pohl to give us an update. Welcome, Dave and Angie.
Well, good evening. We're so excited to be able to share some of the community building work that we're doing at the high school. And it's really a credit to the many students and staff that have been involved in it over the past several months. This all started back with a video message I did for our students. And in that video message, talked a lot about students finding ways that they can have a positive impact on their school community, and talking about how there's work that we need to do, and making sure that they understood that our leadership team, our staff at the high school is committed to getting it done. That's how it started, and then through various conversations and different meetings and getting connected with different people, we have been able to really start to put together a variety of activities in which students' voice and student engagement has become kind of the central focus. Community it's always been the core of what we do. It needs to be the core of what we do at our schools. We need to build community because it is the foundation to build relationships and trust amongst everybody that's at the school. That actually helps then for all of us looking out for each other, for supporting each other. It is one of the foundational and probably critical ways to help build a safe, positive learning environment. There's a lot of conversations out there about finding ways to keep our schools and keeping our children safe, and building relationships and community building is key to that work. It also provides kids with a sense of a place to belong. You build a strong community so everyone feels that they belong to that community. And ultimately, it allows people to learn together from each other, and not just from in the classroom, but as you'll hear, learning from each other through different activities and such that they can do. We're going to talk about student voice and engagement. Our students have a lot of great things to contribute to the work we do at the high school. And it's great following the Metcalf peer leaders, because that was very much community driven, and looking forward to having all those kids up at the high school in a few years. But our students want to make a difference. And so finding ways to bring their voice into the work we do at school, finding ways to engage them more in the work we do at school is really what this is all about. And if we can do that, that strengthens our community, and that makes a huge difference for each and every one of us that are at the high school. So Dr. Pohl is going to share a little bit with you about a couple of the specific activities that have been going on around community building and student voice and engagement.
So we know students are really at the heart of our community, and it's so critical that we're hearing their voice and providing opportunities to hear their voices as we really work together to shape that community. So one of the specific opportunities we've had this year is through some student voice retreats that we've organized. We've worked with Dario Otero, who's owner of Youth Lens 360. He's a facilitator that creates welcoming spaces to have conversations, safe conversations that move towards positive action. So he worked with a group of 60 students from Burnsville High School that were really representative of our student body and representative of grade level, background, interests, abilities, and all excited to come together to share their voices. So they worked together in 2 half-day retreats. The first retreat, they had some time to build community together, to build trust with one another. They had a time to reflect on themselves and who they are and how they're showing up in that space, and then share their stories with one another, and then had time to engage in a consensus process through which they work together to answer the question, how do we come together to build community at the school? How do we manage the dynamics of difference and diversity and some of the tension that might come from that diversity? How do we really work together to build community and to unify? And through that consensus building process, they came up with some large themes of things that maybe we could do differently. And they focused in on building positive teacher-student relationships. How do we continue to strengthen those? How do we continue to provide more opportunities for student voice and for adults to really listen to students? How do we celebrate diversity within the school and within the community? They also talked about things like wanting to bring in some anti-racism education and also increasing curricular and extracurricular opportunities for students of color. So a lot of big themes came out of that discussion. The group then got together again in March and dug into those big themes and talked about what are some action strategies, what are some things that we can actually put in place to start acting on those big bucket themes we came up with. So they spent 4 hours together developing that positive action plan. And the next steps after that are really to start working on a regular basis, a smaller group of students, with Mr. Helke to start putting those things into action. How do we move forward after that great work? And how do we also expand that work and scale up that work so that it's not just 60 students having that kind of opportunity to share their voice, but scaling it up so that all students have that kind of opportunity. So we'll continue working on that, and I would say through this experience, we really focused on students developing the skills that they need to be future ready, and continuing to uphold our mission and vision of Community Strong as well. So it's also about, community building is about learning from one another. And we've had so many opportunities throughout this year for students to share themselves, to share their cultures, their talents, their abilities, their interests, and to share them with one another. From, you can see on the pictures, assemblies and Pep Fest, to our multicultural night, to our Black History Month celebrations. Students have had the chance to share themselves through conversation, dance, song, poetry, artwork, spoken word, beatboxing. And through all of this, students have learned from one another. They've heard different perspectives. They've also learned each other's stories, how they differ and how they are similar or how they connect. And through this process and through all these opportunities, they've also really been able to learn more about themselves and develop that sense of self and their cultural identity, sense of identity, and what they contribute to the community. So again, really embracing and upholding the mission of Future Ready and Community Strong. And it's about supporting each other. There are so many opportunities within our classes and our extracurricular activities for BHS students to come together around common passions and interests, whether it's our new Black Student Union, our music or theater programs, robotics, Quiz Bowl, Burnsville Strong, our chef courses and culinary program, or our career pathways. There are so many opportunities for students to connect with one another, to connect with a caring adult, to connect with their education and connect with the school community. So that really all works to build our community. And within classrooms, teachers are continuing to focus on collaborative opportunities and chances for students to interact with one another, support one another's learning. And the last picture up there is of an 8th grade visit to the high school. So supporting one another also means making sure that we're helping support students as they transition into our community and understand who are we as a community and how will you fit into that community? What do you bring to that community and contribute? So these opportunities are all about developing one's own leadership, social, emotional, academic skills, and continuing to work together to build community.
One of the most recent things that we've been doing is really starting to work on a restorative practice model in working with our students at our high school. We all know, we all were teenagers, we've all been students and young people. There are times that, bad choices are made, or we get ourselves into predicaments, or there might be conflicts or situations that arise. And restorative practices is a way to, again, use the power of community and use the power of relationships to really help work through those, upholding the dignity of the individual, bringing the individual's voice into the process, engaging the individual in looking at how to move forward, how to take care of what happened, but move forward in a better place. And it's essential if we're going to truly develop and strengthen our community, that when we are working with our students, that we are practicing what we're talking about, that we are bringing their voice in, we are valuing their relationship and valuing what they are bringing to us. And so we had the chance, thanks to Dr. Stanley, who connected us with Marius, and Marius is a graduate of Burnsville High School. And he has done training in restorative practices, and so we had about 22 individuals that had training 3 weeks ago, just before spring break. And they came, I knew they were going to come out of it pretty energized, because I had a 45-minute conversation with them, and I don't think I've ever been as excited talking with somebody as I was after talking with him. He gets it, he's passionate about it. They were excited about it. He started them on the journey of really understanding restorative practices. He was just back today, in fact, 4 hours doing the second part of the training. And we're excited because the work with Marius is going to continue in terms of not only providing that opportunity for training to additional staff members, but to sit down and really work on how do we start to embed this and put it into the fabric of what we do at the secondary level? How do we start to use it in terms of our interactions with our students? It's exciting work. It's all about, as I said, relational. It's all about community. It's all about that individual student voice. And so we're excited about the work that we're going to be doing with Marius. One of the things that this is all centered around is it is about building each other up. And whether that happens through retreats, whether that happens through groups, we've started some different groups as well for students, whether it happens through other ways that students come together and are able to interact and support each other. The bottom line is it's the student's school, it's their school. We want them to feel that they belong there, and we want them to feel it's their school. And they're ready to be a part of making it their school, and they're ready to work hand in hand with us as staff to strengthen the community at the high school. So our work's going to continue. I'm hoping that we have a chance and can be invited back at a future date after we start working with some of the students and really looking at exactly some of those action plans and the work, and the students can share their involvement in that work. So I'm hoping this isn't the last time we're able to share some of this work, but we will continue our work around student voice and engagement, around continuing to support groups of students so that they can support each other and learn from each other, and then continuing to grow as adults as well in our learning around restorative practices and around how to create that community, not only school-wide, but how do you create that in classrooms and strengthen it and also out on fields and in clubs and activities and such. So we are excited about the work, and we are surely hoping to be invited back so we can have the kids share some of the voice that they're going to be putting into our future next steps.
Well, thank you so much for that presentation. The board, really does value student engagement at any level, in regardless of the activity. So what you're bringing to us is, very helpful to understand, just all the different avenues we're going down. With that, I'd welcome, if other board members have comments or questions. Director Alt.
Thank you very much. This is a really great report, and I really appreciate the part about restorative practices, really engaging the students and really focusing on them and how that translates into school and student safety. And having witnessed the multicultural event, it was a great celebration because there was authentic sharing on the part of the students, and there was respectful listening and a celebration, and you could tell that the students were really energized by that event, and hopefully we'll see more of that as well. And I, for one, would love to have the students come back and share with us. I think that would be a really great presentation.
We do love the students. They tend to be very honest, and we get a very good picture. Any other board members? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, next we have our Bowls for Brain Power presentation. So over the past several months, students, staff members, community members have created unique bowls as part of our special event called Bowls for Brain Power. This is the 8th year of this great tradition, which has been taking place here at Diamond Head Center today, for most of the day. Bowls for Brain Power raises awareness of our hunger in our community. It is also a fundraiser for a worthy cause called Brain Power in a Backpack, which provides weekend food to the students. And I'm sure they will get into this, but when this began, we were serving a very small number of students, and we've expanded it to almost every school, if not every school, and so it's very good. So with that, I'm going to have Tom Umhofer introduce his guests at the table.
Thank you. Superintendent Amoroso, Chair Schmidt, directors. I wanted the opportunity to sit up here and introduce Faye Finn. I've had the pleasure to work with Faye for the last 11 years. It is my great pleasure and honor to count myself among one of her colleagues, hopefully. She is a tireless advocate for our students and families, and I'm really excited for the report that you're about to hear. It's all yours, Faye.
Thank you. I'm here with Elizabeth McCormick. She's a senior at the high school, and she's been involved with Bowls for Brain Power and with Brain Power in a Backpack. So you'll hear from Elizabeth in a minute. So I'm here to basically tell you that Bowls for Brain Power had the best day ever. As Chair Schmidt said, we are in our 8th year. This is 8 years of making bowls and presenting them to the public and community involvement to raise funds for Brain Power in a Backpack. That's our district's hunger relief project that sends food home every week, and this year they're sending food home with 700 students. And you mentioned how many schools we're in. It's all the elementary schools and all the middle schools, and there's a small food shelf at the high school. So our students are pretty much covered. Where there are preschools in our elementary schools, those students are able to get this food also. So we started today with over 1,200 bowls, or items for display. 1,262 to be exact. And we had a goal to raise $17,000 for food. So our receipts today total, including since we were able to move some bowls from the display cases here over the summer, including that, we are at $24,143. Like I said, the best day ever. And it's not over, because there are many people who will miss this event and want to make a donation anyway. So that total will grow from that. So our long-term goal we set 8 years ago, and it was to raise more than $100,000 for food in 10 years. I'm happy to report that we have now reached and exceeded that goal early in just 8 years. So far, altogether, we've raised $119,298 to buy food to send home for the children in our school district. And this is the legacy of Tim Hammis, whose idea was and let me say art teacher and my good friend, whose idea was that many hands put together could produce significant results through this empty bowls type of event. While Tim is no longer with us, we have carried this project forward in his honor to achieve this goal of $100,000. The bowls team this year was led by Barb Hughes and me, and Barb, if you're around, wave. Barb's over there. And we had help. We had lots of help, but we had help from our teachers, Brian Perry and Kate Quirk, 118 student volunteers, many of whom came time and time again, and 189 community members who were professional, hobby, and novice potters. Our students took the role of learning new techniques so that we could offer new products, and then they took the role of teaching those techniques to other people so that we could have beautiful bowls and our students would be involved as leaders. Overall, our volunteers this year put in over 1,500 hours of service to bring you this community-supported event. And we worked on this project for the main purpose of having our students have food on the weekends so that they would love coming to school, they would love to achieve, and ultimately they could reach their potential. And hunger should never hinder them. We have many, many people to thank, and as this event has become a community-wide event, This list is long, and I'm sorry about that, but I think we need to publicly thank the people who supported us. And just so that you know, every donation that came in today, 100% of that money will go to the purchase of food because we were able to receive some grants to pay for our supplies. So thank you, everyone. Here's the list. Community education in Burnsville High School played integral roles. The Campus Cup Cafe and manager Gail Jungers. Foundation 191 and the Egan Foundation for the grants for clay and glaze. Burnsville Breakfast Rotary, Cargill Salt, Continental Clay Company, Kusky Financial Management, Minnesota Clay, Skyline Displays Midwest, and Burnsville Target. And we also had soup sponsors. The Burnsville High School Culinary Arts, the Blue Ox Sandwich Factory, Delicioso Catering, DeFog's Chinese Cuisine, Jensen's Food and Cocktails, The Roasted Pear, Sean's Soup, and Valley Natural Foods. And thank you, too, to our elementary and middle schools who donated raffle baskets this year, and everybody who made or donated bowls. To our school community and our neighborhood community, we are eternally grateful for your financial support of Bowls for Brain Power. So I'm so appreciative of the way this project has become a community-wide event. So thank you to all of those organizations. One last item to note. Next year, you will see new faces leading this event. Barb and I have achieved the goal set by Tim Hammis and me, and now it's time for new goals and new leaders. So now I'd like to ask Elizabeth if she'd like to tell us a little bit about her experience with this project.
Sure. Thank you. So I'd just like to share a little bit about my Bowls for Brain Power story. I'm a senior this year, but as a sophomore, my first activity at Burnsville High School was Brain Power in a Backpack with Miss Finn. We met after school every Thursday, and immediately I was attracted to the program. It was a low commitment, but it was something that was really easy for me to do, and there was such an apparent camaraderie and positivity that I knew I wanted more of it. So somehow they talked me into going to the Saturday all-call, and when I walked in, I saw all the Potters and all the people there and thinking, maybe this isn't for me, I'm not good enough. But I was immediately greeted and said, welcome aboard, join our team. So they sat down and taught me how to make these bowls, and I walked away with a physical product of my work. And that was something that I never would have imagined. So fast forward a couple years, I'm a senior now, and I've been a captain for 2 years with Bowls for Brain Power. So now not only have I learned how to make these bowls, but I've taught my peers, and I've taught community members how to make them as well. So if you would have told me that a year ago or 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But being able to teach your peers something of value, a skill that they can walk away with, is something that I think is incredible. It builds character, and it teaches you that you can really have fun with the service projects you're involved in. So when I walk around Bowls for Brain Power in a Backpack, I notice the same core group of students returning every week, and that is the community that I was really attracted to in the first place. But you also see new students coming every week and finding their activity, because for some of them, this is their only activity. And having the ability to be welcomed so easily into a group and learning something that you're not going to find somewhere else. Where else are you going to be able to learn how to make these bowls? They don't necessarily have the time to take a pottery class, but if they do take this opportunity, then they're helping build themselves character-wise, but also helping their peers. Because when you're at the project, you know that you're making a difference. All the money is going toward people in your classes or maybe even somebody in the room. So I thought that was such a powerful message, and that's why I've stuck with Bowls for Brain Power, and I can't wait to see how this project progresses in the future.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, now we're available, both of us, to answer any questions you can come up with.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, you just said it best, that this is such a great cause, in the direct and local impact that it has right, in this community, in our school district. And congratulations on reaching that goal, 2 years early. I wish you weren't leaving 2 years early because of that.
I'll still be helping.
Oh, that's excellent. With that, any board member comments or questions? Oh, superintendent has one. Go right ahead.
I do. So, Faye, you and I, at some years, have always looked to see how many bowls are left at the end.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what you have left this year?
a couple dozen, not very many. Like I said, we started out with more than 1,200.
I know, that's why I was
And
curious. Good.
What we will do is we'll put the bowls that are left in the display cases in this building, and
Still be for
you'll
sale
see-
for those who weren't able to
Yes,
come.
but they won't be packed display cases. They'll be sparse.
Wow.
That's good. We appreciate that. Any other questions for Elizabeth, maybe? Okay.
Director Lou.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
When I saw you coming up, I said, I've seen that young lady before. You've been here all 3 years that you were involved. I think you've come to the board, and it's been fun to watch you develop. Your speaking skills, your just the self-confidence you now bring is really, really exciting. And Faye, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
This is a really, really special program. I talk about this to people all over the metro area. I had more than one conversation just this past weekend when I was at the National School Board Association about Brain Power in a Backpack and that program and what it does for students of need and how it's complementary to what we are all about in 191 in supporting our students and making them our focus. And God, I missed him.
I do too.
Brings a tear in my eye every time I think about it. Then I really do miss Tim. But what a way to honor Tim. And I know Tim is looking down on us, all of us today, and particularly those who were directly involved in leading this effort and supporting it today, to have the kind of best ever day. And then knowing, and at the end of it, knowing that there will be financial support, much needed financial support to provide food to our students of need. But I will tell you, we always need more. And Faye has always told me that.
It is true.
It's true. There's never enough. The need is always greater than what we're able to provide. But thank God we are able to do what we can. And I just want to thank everybody who's been intimately involved with this. What a successful community-wide event to support our students.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And let me say one last little thing. For me, it's been a lot of work, I'll say that, but it's been a labor of love. I've enjoyed working on this project. I've enjoyed working with the students. I've enjoyed working with the community and with my friend Barb. And for me, it isn't just a project. It is a labor of love. So I appreciate the opportunity to have been able to conduct this project, produce this product, and be so successful in achieving maybe a good life for a lot of kids in our community. So thank you.
You know, these aren't questions, but this is such a touching issue for me, and I apologize about being late, but I was in Chicago, and actually, you know, it's very timely in a sense that, you know, I was downtown Chicago, and I saw a number of people that were very hungry and asking for food and looking for donations, and just the look on their face. I mean, we tend to not see always the faces of the people that are hungry. And as I listened to all, you know, when you said, Elizabeth, you know, and I'm making a difference, you are absolutely making a difference. And all the people that have done and worked on this program and so forth, it's difficult to know what to say. I don't have questions because it's just so inspiring to really see all of the great work that goes on and just that labor of love showing up in the form of people getting fed and being able to come to school and to be concentrating on, you know, learning so they can improve their own lives and so forth. So just a thank you again for all you do.
You're very welcome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, tonight we are fortunate to have one of our very good partners, the city of Burnsville, come before us. They will be presenting the 2040, yes, that's right, 2040. We should probably have our elementary kids here for this. Draft, comprehensive plan. Up at the table, I'd like to welcome Vince Forkman, who's the Planning Commission Chair, Jenny Faulkner, who's our Community Development Director for the city of Burnsville, and Ryan Peterson, who's the Public Works Director. With that, they're going to provide a presentation, which I looked ahead is, only 24 slides, which condenses the 497-page plan, so it should only be about 95 minutes here. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Amoroso, and directors for having us tonight, especially on a night like this with so many other important issues. My name is Vince Workman. I'm the chair of the Burnsville Planning Commission. Like you said, I'm here with Jenny Faulkner, our CDA director, and our Public Works director, Ryan Peterson. I guess I'll get started just giving a brief overview of what is a comprehensive plan, and it's a roadmap for cities to follow moving forward. On how we want to grow and change over a specific period amount of time. We've had previous comprehensive plans, and every 10 years we have new ones. And so 2040 is where we're at now, and they are required by the Met Council by state statute, so we got to do them. I'm going to steal Jenny's piece of paper because my phone is not working very well. The Citizen Advisory Board is made up of many community members and leaders, including the Planning Commission, different residents, business owners, leaders, Chamber of Commerce. We also had former Superintendent Joe Gothard involved, a member of the Burnsville High School, and Community Ed were also involved in the process. And then throughout the process, we were engaging with the community through different media outlets, events that were happening throughout the community, just raising awareness and gaining input from the public, because a lot of what we did was based upon public input on what did the community want to see moving forward as well. And I have the shortest presentation, so I will hand it over to Ms. Faulkner for the next piece.
Thank you very much. I just want to, before I get into the details of the plan, let the board know that the draft plan is on our website for comment. We did send a copy of the notice to Superintendent Amoroso, and the school board, if you have any written formal comments, has 6 months to get us those comments. But we're hoping to answer any questions you may have, and would look forward to those comments in the future. As Chair Schmidt said, it's approximately 500-page document. We're going to try to condense this down into about one slide on each chapter. And there are 8 chapters, and Director Courier was on the city's planning commission when we did the last one 10 years ago, so she is very well versed in this topic and probably happy to see it come back. Something new that's different from our last plan is that we are really focused on sustainability at the city. And so every chapter that we talk about, and most of the chapters in the city's comprehensive plan deal with our physical environment. So it deals with what you see where. It deals with roads, streets, buildings, houses, parks, those kinds of things. So we are incorporating sustainability as a part of our physical environment. How can we do better and improve on to have lasting positive impacts on those that come behind us? We're also including some specific implementations in each of these chapters, and we intend to follow through on what our goals are and at least check in on them on a regular basis. This is not something we'll look at in just another 10 years and go, oh, well, we have to do it again. This is something that we will be checking in on a regular basis. So how are we doing? With that, as you know, Burnsville's pretty much fully developed. We're 98% developed, but there are a few focus areas that the council wanted us to look at, and I'll just provide a few highlights of those on this map. Heart of the city, the area that we're in is not complete yet. In fact, I would say we're just starting on it, and we are in Heart of the City 1, which is the area that's developed over the last 10 years. And it, I would say, is 3/4 developed, but there's Heart of the City 2, which goes further to the west all the way to 35W. And as many of you know, the Orange Line Bus Rapid Transit is coming to Heart of the City. There'll be 2 stations. And what that means for us is there's an expectation from the Met Council that we have higher density, more housing, more mixed uses to support the bus rapid transit, which will be running from Burnsville to downtown every 15 minutes. So this plan looks to incorporate those higher mixed uses into the heart of the city. We also look at the Minnesota River Quadrant. That's the area in purple on here. This is something that will be out at least 20 to 30 years, hopefully redeveloped by the year 2040. But this is where our heaviest industrial uses are now. And then the council asked us to look at some of our aging industrial parks, specifically the area behind the Burnsville High School along Cliff Road, 12th Avenue, that area. What does the future, what could it look like in that area? So looking at heart of the city, along Nicollet Avenue is where we all know we have most of the development, the mixed uses, condominiums, the apartments, retail on the first floor, Nicollet Commons Park. That certainly we intend to keep the same and build from that going further to the west. Along Burnsville Parkway, the plan calls for mixed use along the south side of Burnsville Parkway. There's some older single-level office buildings, certainly not at their highest and best use in today's market. So there's opportunity there to do something by 2040. And then looking to the north of Burnsville Parkway, kind of in the corner of where 35W meets Highway 13, there's some office buildings there. There may be some opportunities to add some serious high-density residential to that area. Again, trying to get more residents in this area in a walkable environment that can be self-supporting and support that transit. There's a second station planned in heart of the city that's on 35W and Burnsville Parkway. So the first station is up by 13 in Nicollet, just north of the Ames Center and Nicollet Commons Park. The second station is on Burnsville Parkway and Travelers Trail, so just east of 35, and that's the circle to the left. The transit-oriented development, or TOD, area as defined by the Met Council is a half-a-mile radius. So the Met Council expects there to be maximum development within half-mile walkable distance to the station. So when we draw those radiuses, we are now on the west side of 35W. So we looked at what could happen on the west side of 35W from that transit station. And there's some uses that have been there for many decades that have outlived their reasonable purpose and could be put to a higher, better use and add more value to the community. So that's what you'll see on the west side with the purple and the orange is adding some residential and some mixed use, keeping the commercial facing the parkway, realigning the streets there so that it's a little bit more safer than it is right now with all the streets and the driveways lining up just west of the intersection. And what does that look like in terms of buildings? And you may find this drawing interesting. So the Citizens Committee went through an exercise to review what options could be. And what's new here on this from previous plans is showing the extension of 126th Street behind this building to Gateway Plaza, creating a more through street, perhaps in a parkway. This is just a conceptual idea. It may or may not happen, but this is what could happen. Adding some townhomes down Pillsbury Avenue, perhaps on the west side, again, adding another type of living experience in the city. And then there you'll see the apartment buildings or condominium buildings, multifamily of some sort in that southeast corner of 35 and 13. And then on the west side, you'll see the multifamily housing with the commercial and lots of green space, perhaps another park like Nicollet Commons Park off of off of the Gateway Boulevard 126. So this is what it could look like, a continuation of Heart of the City on a larger scale. Regarding the aging industrial park behind the Burnsville High School, we did look at that for redevelopment. What could be there? Again, are those buildings obsolete or not? And what our analysis and study and public input led us to was those buildings are fine. There's a lot of jobs and high-paying jobs in that area, a lot of small businesses, which is very important to Burnsville. We have over 2,500 businesses in this community. We are a net importer of jobs, and we want to stay that way. So rather than what else could it be, it's how can we make it better? And so this plan shows some improvements to public infrastructure, adding some greenery back there, making it more friendly and pedestrian oriented. There really aren't a lot of sidewalks. It's not very walkable if you have a business there. Regarding the Minnesota River Quadrant, you've seen plans probably in various city documents over the years. Not much is changing in this area. Of course, when the quarry is done mining, we'll have a 330-acre lake, and we're looking to capture the development around that, particularly on the east side where visibility will be very high along 35W. And so this plan calls for keeping mixed use along the east side of the lake and keeping office and industrial along 35W. And it does call for a kind of a main street access. The yellow and black line is kind of not the frontage road, but it would be kind of the main road where the development would come off of. And then this plan shows a single intersection, perhaps at 126th Street, and the elimination of Black Dog as a full interchange and Cliff Road as a full interchange. So this, like I said, is out at least 20 years out. There's nothing on the horizon. The good news is, kind of a side note, is that the landfill to the north of the Quarry Freeway landfill is currently in the budget for remediation, which would be a significant step for Burnsville to get that landfill cleaned up, because without it being cleaned up properly, there will be no development. So that would be a significant step in the immediate future. Last area that the council wanted us to focus on regarding land use is the Burnsville Center area. As you know, there's been a lot of talk and concern with the change in our retail economy, and we've got a strong regional retail corridor down on 42. What does that mean for us come 2040? It's changing, and it's changing faster than we can kind of get a handle on. So council wanted us to look at this. There is a future Orange Line station stop planned for the County Road 42 area. The location specific has not been determined, but we know that there will be a stop on phase 2 of the Orange Line in this area. And so we looked at adding potential mixed use or housing in some of the vacant parking lots. What other challenges are out there? And what that has resulted in is the area on pink is changing from a commercial land use designation to a mixed use land use designation. Knowing that there will be a future Orange Line stop, again, we want people where there's a bus stop. So I'm looking to how we can maximize that area. The council has budgeted for, and we've started an RFP process to get into more of the details as far as what this could look like and what the implications of this could be as the next step on this. Even though our comp plan isn't formally adopted, we didn't want to wait a year or two to get through that process, so we're starting on that this year. So the changes to the land use from the last plan involve creating the mixed-use areas, the TOD transit-oriented development areas, some housekeeping changes. We have 3 other aging strip centers that we're changing to mixed-use development, so those are more closer to neighborhoods. But those are the general changes that we're talking about that I think are of interest. I'm going to change the subject here a little bit and move to demographics. So as part of our plan, the Met Council projects what the city's population is going to be every 10 years, as you see on this slide, and what our employment will be. And this is to drive the use for sewer capacity needs and transportation needs as a region. Every city is given a projection and needs to meet that so that the region can be successful as a whole. We all have a small part of this. So the Met Council is predicting that Burnsville will add approximately 7,000 more people than we have now and approximately 8,000 more jobs. Those jobs, we do not know what sectors those jobs will be, but we do know that jobs and people placement is based on where the opportunities would be for development. So they look at where redevelopment areas are, where vacant land is in this city. The jobs location primarily for us then would be in the Minnesota River Quadrant because we have lots of opportunity there. And then south of 42, kind of in the South Cross Industrial area, which is over by Burnsville Parkway, Abdallah Chocolates, all the way over probably to where Byerly's is and south. That's where they predict where most of our jobs will occur. And then I will just note our persons per household. The Met Council predicts for Burnsville to remain steady at 2.48 persons per household. That's where we were at in 2010, and that's what the figure comes out to be for 2040. And then getting into affordable housing, I think this may be of interest to the board here. The Met Council does set affordable housing goals for every community in the metro area to cover the need for the region. And they base this off of opportunity for development. So the communities that have the most open land have the most opportunity to have affordable housing. And affordable housing is best achieved if it is on vacant land. Redevelopment is very expensive. So our allocation is based on the area median income, which is what the AMI stands for, and that's for a household of 4. In 2016, which is what these numbers were based on, the area median income for the metro area was $85,800 for a family of 4. So for housing to be affordable in the region, a family of 4 making $65,700 would be at 80% of the area median income would be considered qualified for affordable housing unit. and 50% would be a income of $42,900, and then at 30%, which is very, very low income, would be at $25,750. And a lot of these numbers are established by HUD and implemented through the Met Council based on our area median income projections. So when you look at that number, Burnsville is required to provide new affordable housing units. We're required to have 266 more units. And you can see the breakdown here, 127 of the very low income, meeting the very low income need, 69, and then 70 of the 51 to 80%. I would add that of our current housing stock, 75% of Burnsville's housing stock meets 80% AMI right now. So we're a very affordable community to live in, and we don't think that this will be a problem to meet the 266 additional. This is between now and 2040. Some communities have a 1 or a 2 in front of that number, which would be a lot more challenging. So I just want to share with you, where do we think that those units could go of interest. We look at our future land use, which is what FLU stands for. We have high density residential, our heart of the city area, and then our mixed use areas. And then we have the number of vacant acres, the minimum number of units per acre, so this becomes a math for those of you that are into math. And then if we have 30% of the minimum acres, it has to be residential. There's the opportunity to create, you'll see the 71, 124, and our high density residential is all residential, 51 units. So we see for sure we can meet the 266 numbers. If we required a higher percentage be residential in our heart of the city or mix, then of course we'd be up to 375. But those are the areas where we would see that the opportunity would be. The city does not have to build these units. There's no penalty if we don't make these numbers. They are goals only. And if the opportunities arise, then certainly we should do that to meet the needs of the region. But there is no penalty if we don't reach this number. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan to talk about infrastructure.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you. I get to present the last few chapters, which are mostly public works related, which of course you all are going to find the most interesting. There's no doubt about it. So the first chapter is transportation, and Jenny's talked about how many people are going to be moving into the metro area through the years. And Burnsville is characterized by all the freeways we have. We have 35, 35W, 35E, 13, and 42. So these roads are just going to continue to get more congested. There is not more funding coming to relieve the congestion, so we got to figure out other ways to make that happen. Transit is a very large component of that. On the screen there you can see the orange line that Jenny was talking about where the stations would go. This is one of our primary objectives to get underway. This would provide 15-minute bus service every day, all day long, from the two stations down in heart of the city all the way to downtown. So this is one of the primary ways that we can work on improving the transportation ability to serve the citizens of Burnsville. At the same time, we'll be working on trails and multimodal solutions that the residents want, and there's ADA requirements, Americans with Disabilities Act, folks who we want people of all, if you have a sight disability or in a wheelchair, to be able to have the same opportunities that everyone else has. So to do that, we need to make transit more accessible. Therefore, we need more trails and more walking opportunities. And then, as you can see there on Goal 4, as you might have heard, we have driverless cars at this point. Now, they're not always successful as well. So we need to be able to adjust to those when they come. I understand in Arizona, there is a truck route now that the truck takes off from one stop without a driver and goes to another city, and then the driver gets into the truck and then drives it to wherever it needs to go. So it's on its way. So we need to be here and able to be ready for it with all the different opportunities we'll have. Utilities, I'm once again a public works guy, and in my opinion, a clean and plentiful water supply could perhaps be the most important thing or aspect that a city can provide. So we take that very seriously in the city, and from a planning document standpoint, we need to make sure that our water supply isn't being impacted negatively. Jenny talked about the MRQ area. You're probably aware that there's an unclosed landfill there that we need to close for economic development purposes, but also for making sure our water supply can stay sustainable from not being impacted negatively by contaminants. If the water level goes up in the lake, it's going to get into the garbage there that's not closed properly, and then subsequently we won't have a clean water supply. So with economic development, it also needs to be cleaned up for our water supply purposes. Adequate sewer capacity, we're confident that for all the expansion that we may have, we'll have adequate sewer capacity. Met Council Environmental Services has been in expanding their sewer interceptor pipes. And then goal 3 is actually a great success that the school district and the city have shared with fiber optic sharing that we've had. I know we provide fiber to the school, and then subsequently both parties benefit by that greatly. We look to continue to find opportunities to expand in that area. Parks, at the same time we were updating the comprehensive plan, the park department was updating its master plan. The number one goal that came out of the plan after talking to many residents was to expand our trail system and complete gaps that are missing. A lot of gaps we have people who want access to transit and they can't get there because they can't walk to there for some reason. So we're constantly looking for opportunities to do that, as well as build our regional trail system. We did construct the first segment down by the Minnesota River. You've probably been down there and rode your bike from the Black Dog interchange up to the north and then across the river to Bloomington. I guess with that, the 35W bridge over the Minnesota River is going to be replaced in the next few years. With that, there will be a trail on the bridge at the same grade, which will allow for a really nice trail system for both commuters and for recreational users. The second goal was just conserve natural areas. There's a lot of people who just want to go and walk around on a wood chip trail as opposed to a paved one, so we have those opportunities in Burnsville. We'll continue. And then some folks want to throw the Frisbee with their kids, and others want to have the kids of summer opportunities, so we need to balance those requirements and things that the residents want. Natural environment, we've talked a lot about our water supply. We also are very concerned about our surface waters. The picture there you see is a construction of a big underground vault. Obviously here it wasn't underground, but I promise you it's buried now. So it was a picture taken with a drone, and basically waters that has more phosphorus in it than we would like is going directly into Keller Lake. This will take a lot of that phosphorus out and make for a better surface water in Keller Lake, which is connected to Crystal Lake. So they're all connected together, and we, through our stormwater utility, are funding many improvements like that. The Minnesota River Valley, we've talked about that already, but we have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that we are constantly supporting and continuing to put our trails down there, as well as MRQ resources. That means that we still have a lot of limestone left, and that's definitely a resource for the entire region that we need to use as wisely as possible. I think I've talked about goal 3 there. Sustainability, as Jenny discussed, is woven into each chapter. Some of it's reduction, some of it's protection, some of it is conservation and resiliency. One thing that will definitely have a role here at the district is waste reduction. The MPCA is putting requirements on Dakota County, who subsequently is putting requirements on the city to reduce the amount of materials going to a landfill. Organic recycling, perhaps you're already doing that, I'm not sure, but it'll just continue to grow, that we need to put less into landfills and more into recycling and reuse. So climate resiliency, we're always finding ways to make sure that if we get an extreme flood, that our systems can handle it, or if we get extreme drought, that we have enough water to continue to supply you. Next steps, Jenny talked about the 6-month period, so you'd have till the sometime in September to get us any comments, along with 22 other jurisdictions. Yes. So, and we get the distinct pleasure of reviewing about 22 other comprehensive plans in that time. Also, then once we get all the comments, we'll be responding to those, making revisions as necessary. The Planning Commission gets to hear it again, make any recommendations to the City Council, who will give us the authority to send it on to Met Council for their final review, and hopefully they'll approve it, and then the council will approve it. A real simple process. And then hopefully in 2019 it'll be implemented, and then we can be off to the races and start planning for the next one. So with that, I guess we're here for any questions if you have any for us.
That was fantastic. You know, I've been here so long. I grew up in Burnsville from 1968. I remember the last time they replaced 35W Bridge.
Oh.
Can't believe they're doing it again. You know, with that, you know, board member comments or questions, for City Director Miller?
First of all, thank you. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into this. I just had a quick clarification question on the demographics. I'm curious how you arrive at these numbers. Don't have to get too scientific about it.
Sure.
But is it just a simple extrapolation of historical, or is there some externalities that have gone into this, or do you have events you're expecting, or?
Director Miller, board members, the city does not do any projections. We don't have that expertise or the resources. The Met Council does all the projections for the region, and they do have very complicated formulas. What I can tell you is if you go to their website, go to their data, they got a link for data. They have it on every city in the 7-county metro area, and they also have information on how they arrived at their numbers. I was given a question in advance about the employment, so that's where I went. How did you get to this number so that I could be able to respond to that question? So I wish I had a more detailed answer, but I'm kind of glad I don't because it's very complicated.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I know from the district, we do appreciate the partnership. We have the BC TV labs here, and you guys have provided, like you said, the fibers, and, I know our high school teams use the ice arena and Alamagna and things, and so, there's just all kinds of partnerships we have, and so we're very appreciative. Thank you for that very informative, comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to move into our report section. Our student representative, Luke Adorf, isn't here tonight, and he likely may not be here for the rest of the school year, given his, varsity tennis schedule and things. But, we will try to see him off, nonetheless. But with that, we will jump right to Superintendent Amoroso for her report.
Thank you. Starting off with an update on Senator Tina Smith. U.S. Senator Tina Smith visited Burnsville High School on April 6th to learn about our Pathways model, which helps students find their passion and prepare for success in the future. During a brief tour, Senator Smith met with members of the school's Geek Squad, discussed projects with engineering students, and talked with culinary students about their work. I'll also add they got to taste the work of the culinary students, and it was awesome. The visit concluded with a roundtable discussion with students, teachers, and community partners who are helping the school's pathways come to life. And I participated in that, and I can't tell you how impressed I was with everyone who participated in that event. A learning project that Senator Smith found out about, and my next topic, is something that's both future ready and community strong, and it was featured on the TV news the other night. William Burns STEM Elementary Principal Lyle Baumsta needed technical support for a project for his school. So he turned to 3 Burnsville High School students who helped create an augmented reality sandbox. Fiona Chow, Josh Johnson, and Garrick Riesdill are in the Engineering, Design, and Development class taught by Orion Patry. This Project Lead the Way PLTW capstone course requires students to work in teams on a real-life project of their choice. It was a great learning experience for the Burnsville High School students to create this sandbox, which will be a wonderful teaching tool at Burn. KSTP reporter Jessica Miles did a story on the collaboration this week, and I have to take this opportunity to share it with you.
Young students in the South Metro were just introduced to a new piece of equipment. It's rare to find in elementary schools. It's called an augmented reality sandbox. Jessica Miles shares what it is and how it could encourage STEM education.
Students raised money through their school readathon, and that's how they were able to get this one-of-a-kind interactive STEM tool.
We want to say thank you.
Inside the gym at William Burns STEM Elementary in Burnsville, students patiently await the reveal of this.
Whoa!
An augmented reality sandbox built mainly by these 3 Burnsville high school students. The Xbox camera and projector up top are hooked up to a computer down below. The camera senses the sand levels in the box, sends that data to the computer where it's processed, sent to the projector, and then displayed in different colors.
They can learn about geography, or topography would be the more specific term.
Like we saw the kids earlier playing with it, you can create different mountains, see the different levels of elevation. You can make it rain and then create lakes and rivers. And then change the landscape to see what happens to that water when you create a valley right next to it.
It's water. It's part of water. This is its first use by third graders here.
What do you think about having something like this in your school?
I think it would be amazing.
Cool. It makes the school feel like a science museum, kind of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And is that pretty neat?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Garrett and Fiona worked on the computer coding.
It was basically just a lot of fun to learn how to code and to actually use it and see it work.
Josh mastered the build. All three say presenting the creation to these students feels great.
It was amazing. It was extremely cool to see all those kids' reactions.
It changed the math. And the reaction from teachers.
Watch what happens if I draw.
Already seeing connections to classroom projects.
The more their hands can move, the more their bodies can move, the more their brains move and engage. I'm really excited for our students and for me as a teacher too.
In Burnsville, Jessica Miles, 5 Eyewitness News.
I'm going to apologize for some of those technical difficulties. Because that's not our video, we're not able to download that, and so we have to stream it from the TV site. So I apologize that not all of that came through, but that full video is available out on the web, and we're very proud of that story. The next item is our Community of Excellence Awards, and I'm very excited that there will be 10 awards presented this year to individuals and groups to recognize the extraordinary contributions of awesome staff members in our school district. This is the third year of the 191 Community of Excellence, or COE, Awards, which highlight amazing work being done around our district by staff to ensure our mission of each student future ready, community strong. The Spirit of Excellence Award, which goes to an individual or team that exemplifies the best of what the district seeks in its employees, will be awarded to the Sioux Trail Elementary community. Principal Shannon McParland, staff members, and parents came together with a vision and mission that outlined high expectations for the entire school community, identified strength and diversity, and identified that success of the community would be based on the success of all. The results have been increased student achievement, along with several local and state awards. Other recipients of the 2018 191 Community of Excellence Awards are Aaron Huber at Harriet Bishop Elementary for community engagement, Hamdi Dowd and Etika Ontiveros at Hidden Valley Elementary, and Jolene Kump at Gideon Pond Elementary for excellence in educational support. Sharon Stalock at Sioux Trail Elementary for innovation, Beth Van Osdel in our Systems Improvement and Student Achievement Department, and Katie Salmella, District Elementary Media Specialist, for leadership and action. Liz Davidson at Burnsville High School, Suzanne Schiffman in Community Education's Early Childhood Program, and Christine Michaels at Hidden Valley Elementary School for teaching excellence. The awards ceremony to honor these recipients will begin at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 17th, in the Mraz Center at Burnsville High School. I want to stress that this event is open to all 191 staff, students, families, and community members as an opportunity to honor these great staff members. Congratulations to all of our award recipients. Service Day Saturday is coming up on April 21st. This will be the 4th annual Service Day Saturday on April 21st in Savage, with volunteer opportunities and family fun. This event was started by Shrey Pathini, now an 8th grader, at Eagle Ridge Middle School, and members of the Harriet Bishop Elementary Service Club. It has continued to grow every year with more opportunities to volunteer and connect with the community. You can read more about that on our website at isd191.org. I encourage anyone and everyone to become involved in this Community Strong event. I'm excited because this year, for the first time, we are going to have a group from Diamond Head and board member attend that day, attend out at City Hall in Savage to help with activities. And as part of the event here at Diamond Head, we've been collecting personal care items to donate, as well as they are looking for blood donors, and we have some people who are going to be participating in that blood drive. So that's a great opportunity started by one of our own students, and I'm excited that we'll be participating in just a week and a half. And finally, the gallery at the Ames Center now features an exhibit of 100 select pieces of artwork from students in our 10 elementary schools. I attended the opening reception last month and was very impressed with the quality and creativity of our students. So I wanted to give you a brief look at some of the pieces in the exhibit, along with some of the tweets from our art teachers. And I just want to remind you that some of what you are going to see was created by kindergartners. And I wish we could have had the names and the ages on each picture so you'd have an idea of how sophisticated some of these youngsters are with their art. But here you go. And many of these are mixed media, and so you don't quite get that 3D sort of sense or that texture sense from the photos, but I encourage you to go over and take a look. It's really fun. I'm glad that I was able to take an opportunity tonight just to showcase some of our art. We hear a lot about activities that students are in, and we hear about things that are happening, and it's hard to have a report on art because it's something that you have to experience. So we do have that opportunity because the exhibit continues until April 23rd, and I'd like to give many thanks to Sarah Merkel, who coordinated this exhibit, and to all the art teachers in our district for all that you do. And I will say there was one student who had a clay piece there that I really wanted, and I offered to purchase it, but her mom jumped in very quickly and said no. So I'm still sort of wanting that art piece, but I encourage all of you to go, and that's the conclusion of my report.
Well, thank you. Any board member reports tonight? Oh, Director Lou, thank you.
Want to report on the National School Board Association conference that I attended this past weekend down in San Antonio, Texas. Unfortunately, I brought way too much of our weather down with me, but no snow, just a little bit of cooler temperatures. But had the distinct honor to be part of a team from our district that included Kathy Funston and Dave Helke and myself that did a presentation to a breakout session. It happened to be the last session on Monday before the conference wrapped up, and I have to tell you, there was a little trepidation on my part as to just how many attendees would still be around. I'm happy to report we had over 80 folks attend, which is as good as we would have had at prime time on Saturday, to be honest with you. So we gave a presentation that was focused on Vision 191, and how that came to be from this board over the past few years, with then a focus on the Pathways program at our high school. I've talked about this a little bit before. We've had the opportunity to give this presentation at MSBA, CTE, COSN on a national level. But anyhow, it went very well. We had plotted out and planned out about a 45-minute presentation and about 15 minutes of questions. Believe it or not, I had about 30 minutes of that, and I only spoke for 20. I know. I mean, whoa, Dan spoke less. But nonetheless, we finished up after about 45 minutes, and 45 minutes later, after that, we were still answering questions. We went for over an hour and a half. There were people from Minnesota. There were people from Montgomery County, Maryland, Arkansas, obviously a number of people from Texas since it was hosted there. We had people from all over the country, all cultures. It was really amazing, and we had just some really fine questions and a very strong positive response to what we're doing in this district. So I want to thank everybody in the room tonight, because that wouldn't happen for all of us and the things we're doing for our students. Later that afternoon, I was at the airport. I came into the airport then to fly home, and was immediately, sat down and says, "Hey, that was a fabulous presentation." Now, of course, there was a fair number of school board members from other, districts that were on that same flight back. And I said, "Oh, you were there?" "Yeah, it was Elk River." And he was really interested, wanted to know more, and we exchanged information. And then I had someone from Robbinsdale, a school board member who's also an active teacher on the school board up there, and he had heard about it. Wasn't there, in a matter of hours, had already heard about the presentation that 191 gave at the NSBA. A little bit later, I'm walking just to get a little exercise before the flight, and I had somebody from Edina come up to me, and say, "Hey, I heard about this. Can you send me," he said, "Here's my card, can you send me the presentation?" And we had a couple videos, and one of those videos was done by our own students at the high school. And that really got people's attention. So anyways, I want to say it was a great success. Makes me very proud to be a part of this organization and to be able to show what we're doing and the difference we're making. We're early on our journey, I told people. We have many more years to go before we have that where we really want it to be. But nonetheless, it was very exciting, and I want to bring back that really good news. And there's a lot of talk, I guess, if you will, going on around there. It's about what we're doing in our district and how we're making a difference for our students. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dan, thanks for your participation along with Kathy and Principal Helke as well. Put the district, in that shining light at the national level. That was wonderful. So thank you.
Yep.
Any other board member reports? Director Alt.
Thank you, Chair Schmidt. Just before spring break, Assistant Superintendent Watkins and I attended the State of the City address in Eagan. As many may already be aware, Eagan continues to grow and develop in leaps and bounds. Additionally, Mayor McGuire discussed the city's ongoing investment in its parks, access to art, and of course, highlighted the arrival of the Vikings. Among Eagan's current challenges are reviewing access to affordable housing in addition to addressing workforce shortages. Given 191's investment in pathways and our focus on having students graduating with a plan, it is my expectation that partnerships between 191 and the Eagan community will increasingly benefit our students, local businesses, and the community. Also within the last month, I attended 2 events which underscored the varieties of ways in which we all must be ever vigilant in keeping our children safe, both at school and at home. 360 Communities hosted its 33rd annual Domestic and Sexual Violence Awareness Luncheon earlier this month, and in March, Harriet Bishop Elementary hosted Teachable Safety Skills, a discussion led by the Jacob Wetterling Resource Center. My takeaway from both events: honest conversations and positive relationships help keep our kids safe. As a school district, we are ever focused on the safety and well-being of our students. Beyond structural and facilities-based investments in our schools, positive, healthy relationships between staff and students ensure that each student has at least one safe go-to adult for help. This could be a custodian, a teacher, a food service worker. There are a wide range of trustworthy adults to choose from. One question for consideration, and I believe we heard some of this from Principal Helke and Dr. Pohl. How are we confirming with our students that they've thought this through for themselves in age-appropriate ways? As parents, having honest, ongoing conversations with our children about our love for them, their value to us as family members, and our vow to keep them safe in the moment and worry about consequences tomorrow, literally tomorrow, these conversations provide reassurances for our children in times of need. Both the 360 Communities event and the conversation at Harriet Bishop highlighted the fact that open communication and trust are at the core of our collective efforts to keep our kids safe. Pretty simple and straightforward, I know, and still an important reminder. This ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Alt. Any other board member reports? Director Miller.
Not so much a report, but just remind everybody that the High School Theater Guild opens up Mary Poppins tonight and runs through next weekend, so I'm looking forward to that show. Also, I'm going to just repeat the message that Superintendent Amoroso said about Service Day. Saturday is coming up. I encourage everybody to come out. You don't have to be volunteering for something. Just come and do an activity for a little bit. I'm going to manage to get, I believe, a ballet class, not myself personally, but and a hockey tournament, 2 games in that day, plus 2 hours of service there. So no excuses. Come out and do some help for the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Miller. Anyone else? Well, I'll close with just a few comments. As Superintendent Amoroso mentioned, last Friday we had the honor to have hosted Senator Smith, and I was so impressed with our students and our staff. I had the distinct honor, along with Superintendent Amoroso, to escort Senator Smith around. We started at the Geek Squad, and what a presentation! Just the real life. Here it is in operation, and they showed her how they were fixing an iPad at the or not an iPad. I'm sorry, a Chromebook at the time, and very impressive. And then we journeyed on to the Fab Lab, and saw the wonderful sand presentation, among many other things as well. And the students were so professional and so just engaging and knowledgeable. It was just almost heartwarming just to see how they interacted with the senator. And then, of course, we finished with the roundtable, which was a combination of our our partners like Walzer and Firefly, the Burnsville Fire Department, along with their students, with our students, and talking about, and I should mention Alina as well, along with our students talking about those different pathways. So, a lot packed in 90 minutes, but it was very, very well received by the senator and her staff. So, thanks to all who made that happen. Thank you, Director Miller, for talking about Mary Poppins. I'll close with, while it is our spring sports season, I wish them luck, but more importantly, I wish them patience. I happened to be at the high school this afternoon, and I saw the poor girls' golf team out in their uniforms trying to get their team pictures in by the sign, and they were freezing to death. But, I know the seasons will kick off. The high school league today approved, shorter games for doubleheaders and things. And so hopefully after our weather this weekend, we can, get those students, out there, because they're probably tearing up the gyms inside and going crazy, waiting to get there. So, we wish them luck this spring. All right, with that, we will move to the business part of our meeting. First, I'll look for a motion on the consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. In the event any of the board members wishes to discuss an item, we will remove that item for separate discussion and consideration. Do I have a motion? So moved by Director Courier, second by Director Schatz. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will move on to the new business portion of our meeting. We have just one item tonight, and that's to approve on a first reading basis changes to policy 524, Internet Acceptable Use and Safety Policy. Our presenter will be Doug Johnson, recently awarded Doug Johnson. Congratulations, our Director of Technology. This is actually one of our more in-depth and longer policies, so it does warrant, a review and, good overview. So welcome, Doug.
Director, President Schmidt, Superintendent Amoroso, members of the board, thank you for taking a look at this very important policy. This policy has gone through review by 2 committees already, the Board Technology Committee and the Policy Review Committee as well too. I think we've probably had better than 2 hours to 3 hours worth of discussion on this very important policy already. The changes that this policy, I believe, first came out in about the mid-'90s, and it's based on the Minnesota School Board Association's recommended language. And of course, over the years, as the technology has changed, the role of technology has changed, so has the language in the policy and inclusions and exclusions as well, too. This revision reflects, I think, a change in language to a large degree. It's no longer just the internet, and it's no longer just computers, but it's now devices and lots of resources that the internet just tends to be a transit to. It also reflects, I believe, the fact that technology in our district has changed from sort of that nice extra to now something that's very integral to the learning experiences of all of our children and the teaching methods of all of our teachers as well, too. And I think it also takes some responsibility and calls out responsibility that we all have, including our parents and our families, in regard to making sure our students stay safe and responsible online. In fact, one of the probably maybe we've tried to do is build this more as a responsible use policy, as an acceptable use policy. Again, this is reviewed by 2 committees, and I'm happy to take any questions about specifics that you might have.
Before we do that, I will read the motion here. Just bear with me 1 second when I go back to it. It's pretty straightforward, of course. So the motion is to approve on a first reading basis changes to policy 524, Internet Acceptable Use and Safety Policy. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Director Luce, second by Director Vandenboom. Any discussion or questions for Doug? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Doug.
very much.
All right, before we adjourn, I'd just like to let everyone know we will be adjourning to a workshop that will be followed by a closed session, as permitted by 13D03 for negotiation strategies. The workshop, there are some, certainly items of interest. We'll be talking about the health and dental insurance renewal, and that's always good information. It's a lot of good statistics, and kind of for those who don't know, our district is self-insured, so it's very important for the board to kind of understand our position and where we're at with that. The second part of our workshop will be around the budget. So we will formally be presented the budget proposals, considerations tonight. That will then be published on our website by tomorrow, I think. Correct, Jamie? Yes, thank you. And then we will just close with a quick conversation around some board activities before we move into our closed session. So we will have that work session right here, so all are welcome. With that, I'll take a motion to close.
So moved.
So moved by Director Alt, second by Director Schatz. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we're adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute recess.